Today is Tuesday, December 9th. We'll tell you what message President Trump is trying to send to voters as he heads back to battleground states, and what to know about a new aid package for American farmers. Also, a shift in U.S.-China policy that supporters say could boost the economy, while critics warn it could put the country at risk. Plus, where another powerful winter storm is headed. What new data shows about a potentially life-saving shot for newborns, and which movies and TV shows earned the most Golden Globe nominations. Those stories and even more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. President Trump is back on the campaign trail. He's visiting key battleground states, starting today with Pennsylvania, where he's set to talk about the economy. It comes as the president has been frustrated by the idea that his policies have not been helping everyday Americans. Trump argues his administration actually stopped inflation. He's called the word affordability a Democrat scam. And he has said he's disappointed in other Republicans for not focusing on it enough. Though many lawmakers, including some of his own supporters, have said Americans know what they can and can't afford, and that if Republicans like President Trump can't deliver better results to lower costs, they'll lose the midterms next year. Trump's economic pitch tour is set to continue well into 2026. Speaking of the economy, just yesterday, Trump announced a $12 billion aid package for American farmers. Most of it will come in the form of one-time payments through the Farmer Bridge Assistance Program. How much each farmer gets depends on how many acres they plant and what kind of crop they grow. Those payments are set to start going out in February. President Trump says the money for the bailouts will come from tariff revenue, and it's needed since the entire agriculture business has been dealing with the fallout from the president's tariffs that have dried up business from overseas. Costs for key items like fertilizer and crop seeds have also gone up. And through the first 9 months of this year, farm bankruptcies rose by nearly 50% as compared to the same period just 1 year earlier. Now, many farmers say the extra money will help them pay down their debts and finance the cost of next year's crop. Only farmers that make less than $900,000 a year will be eligible for aid. Chinese manufacturers don't seem to be having much trouble finding customers, even in the face of steep tariffs in the U.S. For the first time in history, China's trade surplus topped $1 trillion, meaning it's exporting a lot more than it's importing. It highlights how dominant the country has become for everything from high-end electric cars to low-end t-shirts and everything in between. China's exports to the U.S. did go down, of course, actually by nearly 30%, but its exports to Europe, Australia, and Southeast Asia are surging. At this point, the average tariffs on Chinese goods coming into the U.S. is around 37%. Up from about 11% last year, in response to what President Trump considers to be unfair trade practices. Elsewhere, tariffs are much less, and economists expect Chinese exports to keep rising. The Trump administration is now letting NVIDIA send some of its AI chips to China, and says it's finalizing the details so Intel, AMD, and other American companies will be able to do the same. With that, it ended what's effectively been a ban on chip-making companies from doing business with the world's second-largest economy. The move could be worth billions of dollars for NVIDIA, which is already the world's most valuable company. The U.S. government will get a 25% cut of sales. The Commerce Department will also do some vetting and will have to sign off on exactly which Chinese companies will be able to place orders. Also, NVIDIA won't be able to send its latest, more advanced chips, and instead will have to send the generation of chips before the current ones. Companies say the president's decision will make America more competitive and drive investment and growth here in the U.S. But a bipartisan group of lawmakers in Congress has some concerns about China using NVIDIA chips to advance its military ambitions. And just last week, they introduced a bill to block the export of advanced AI chips to China for more than 2 years. It's not clear if that bill will ever come up for a vote, though. Japan is still surveying the damage from a 7.5 magnitude earthquake. It struck off northern Japan yesterday. At least 23 people were hurt and thousands were told to evacuate. The quake triggered a 2-foot tsunami on the country's Pacific coast. Tsunami warnings have since been downgraded, but there's a possibility of more earthquakes that could happen over the next few days. Another powerful winter storm system is expected to hit a large part of the U.S. today. Meteorologists are warning about falling temperatures, blizzard-like conditions, and potentially dangerous travel in parts of Minnesota, South Dakota, and Iowa. Other states like New York and Wisconsin are also facing a winter storm watch, but not the possible blizzard conditions. That system is expected to move into New England tomorrow. Just yesterday, snow and sleet from another system spread over the mid-Atlantic. And as of early this morning, some snow is still falling across much of Virginia and North Carolina. Cold temperatures are expected to stick around there today before a warm-up tomorrow, and then another surge of cold air by the end of the week. We have more news in just a moment, but first, a quick break to tell you about our sponsor. I might not be able to control when my kiddo gets up too early in the morning, but the one thing I can control is how comfortable and cozy I feel when I get into bed and the quality of sleep I get. And for me, that includes wearing Skims pajamas. They're the best. I really feel like I sleep better when I feel good in the fabrics that I'm wearing. Plus, with the cute holiday patterns available right now, I feel more intentional and put together walking downstairs in my cute holiday PJs to our decorations already filling the living room. And this latest set from Skims I got, the Skims Sleep Set, is the softest pair of pajamas I have ever owned. It's such a good feeling to be in my new Skims Sleep Set around the house, cuddled up with a cup of hot tea or even hot cocoa in the evenings. And it'll be so fun to have these as we wake up for the holidays later this month. You'll find me in these PJs all season long. Shop my favorite pajamas at skims.com. And after you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you. Select podcast in the survey and be sure to select our show in the drop-down menu that follows. And if you're looking for the perfect gifts for everyone on your list, the Skims holiday shop is now open at skims.com. Now back to the news. Well, more parents in the U.S. are refusing a routine and potentially life-saving shot for their newborns. A new study in the Journal of the American Medical Association found nearly 4% of babies born between 2017 and 2024, which is about 200,000 babies, did not receive a vitamin K shot at birth. And the rate of refusal continued to rise during that time, especially starting in 2019 and going up during and after the COVID pandemic. Vitamin K is essential for blood clotting, and babies are born with very low levels of it. Without the shot, newborns are more than 80 times more likely to develop dangerous severe bleeding. The American Academy of Pediatrics has recommended the vitamin K shot for newborns since 1961. Now, one of the study's authors called it very concerning to see the rise in parents refusing this shot for their newborns and blamed an erosion in the public's trust in health officials. Some pediatricians also point to misinformation on social media, as well as rising vaccine skepticism overall. Though to be clear, the vitamin K shot is not a vaccine, it's a supplement in the form of an injection. Immigrants who are just one step away from becoming American citizens are showing up to their naturalization ceremonies only to be turned away. These are people who already established permanent residency here, have gotten work authorization, passed a civics test, been interviewed, gone through multiple background checks, and so on. It's a process that can take years. The final required step is taking the oath of allegiance at a ceremony. And that's what's being canceled for people from 19 countries that the White House put under a travel ban. And those countries include Afghanistan, Cuba, Venezuela, Iran, Haiti, Somalia, and more. The Trump administration has not released data on exactly how many almost citizens have been affected, but the New York Times reports it's likely to impact thousands of people from some of the poorest and most unstable countries in the world. Trump administration officials say the ban is needed to keep criminals out of the U.S. Already this year, President Trump reinstated a more difficult civics test and ramped up social media vetting for people trying to become naturalized citizens, saying the earlier qualifications were too lax. These policy changes have been happening more slowly and less publicly than the ICE operations that have played out on the streets. Remember how we told you about how Netflix planned to buy Warner Brothers Discovery? Well, now Paramount Skydance has launched a hostile bid to buy WBD instead. Paramount will go straight to Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders with an all-cash offer, even though the board has already recommended Netflix. Now the board just says it's going to review this latest proposal and decide what to tell shareholders within 10 business days. The Netflix deal was valued at $82.7 billion. The Paramount one is valued at $108.4 billion. Paramount's offer is backed in part by 3 Arab sovereign wealth funds and Affinity Partners, which is run by President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. All of the groups agreed to forego any voting rights, which Paramount says could make it more appealing to regulators. As for Netflix, the company says it's not worried and it's confident its deal will be the one finalized. But some people on the creative side of entertainment don't want any more consolidation either way. They see a deal as eliminating options for pitching movies and shows and further shrinking the job market. Though Netflix leaders have promised to spend more on content and deliver more, which they say will be good for both jobs and customers. Eventually, regulators are set to consider all arguments and decide whether or not to approve a buyout in the next year or two. President Trump says he'll be personally involved. Golden Globe nominations are out, and as the first major award show of the year, this can give a good glimpse into which movies might do well all season, including at the Oscars. The Paul Thomas Anderson movie, One Battle After Another, starring Leonardo DiCaprio, is leading the pack. It got 9 noms, including Best Picture, Director, and Screenwriter. Other movies that top the list of nominations include Sentimental Value and Hamnet. On the TV side, The White Lotus was the most nominated show, followed by Adolescence, Only Murders in the Building, and Severance. This is also the first year podcasts will be featured at the Golden Globes. The best podcast nominees are Armchair Expert, Call Her Daddy, Good Hang with Amy Poehler, The Mel Robbins Podcast, Smartless, and Up First from NPR. That means many popular top true crime podcasts and political podcasts did not make the cut. Not even the Joe Rogan Experience that topped Spotify, Apple, and YouTube's list of most listened to podcasts of the year. Of course, there were plenty of perceived snubs in TV and movies, too. Reports point out how Wicked for Good was not nominated for Best Picture or Best Director. Others left out include actresses Sydney Sweeney and Gwyneth Paltrow, who were widely expected to be on the list. The award ceremony is on January 11th on CBS and Paramount+. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, this episode is brought to you by OneSkin. This time of year, my skin always needs a little extra care. Think cooler weather, travel, the rush of the holidays. But I've kept my skin looking and feeling great thanks to OneSkin. You know how much I love their face moisturizer already, and I've recently added their new peptide lip mask to my nightly routine, and I love it. And it's just been so great to have this powerful combination of skincare ready to go on my bathroom counter every day. It's one less thing I have to think about while it's delivering the skincare I need now and giving me long-term benefits. Because remember, at the core of OneSkin is their OS1 peptide, proven to target the key signs of aging, and the results have now been validated in 5 different clinical studies. OneSkin also just launched their limited edition holiday sets, including the Nightly Rewind gift set, featuring their best-selling face moisturizer, that new peptide lip mask I talked about, and a sculpting gua sha tool. Each element is designed to work together overnight, helping renew skin at the cellular level for a stronger, smoother, and more youthful-looking complexion. For a limited time, you can try OneSkin for 15% off using the code NEWSWORTHY at oneskin.co/newsworthy. Again, try OneSkin for 15% off using the code NEWSWORTHY at oneskin.co/newsworthy. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. And today's trivia question is, what dog breed doesn't bark? Listen again next Tuesday for the answer and explanation. As for last week's trivia question, why is the White House's Oval Office oval? The answer is to create room for a levee. That's a formal symbolic reception that was used by America's first president. Yep, the oval shape traces all the way back to George Washington. In the 1790s, he ordered the back walls of what was then the Executive Mansion to be rebuilt with a curve, creating a semicircular room for those official receptions called levees. Washington liked the shape so much that it's thought to have inspired the design of the White House's Blue Room, which is also oval. Fast forward more than a century, in 1909, President William Howard Taft expanded the West Wing, and his architect modeled the new president's office after that famous oval Blue Room. And that's how a ceremonial shape from the 1700s became the iconic Oval Office we know today. Thank you so much for joining us to get caught up on the news today, and for sharing the show if you found it valuable. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest news to know. Until then, have a great day.